Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today we're learning word chunks that make you sound like a native speaker, even if you're a beginner. These chunks sound fancy and natural. Native speakers will be impressed. Listen first, then repeat each chunk. Let's begin. Impressive agreement chunks. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. You've hit the nail on the head. You've hit the nail on the head. You took the words right out of my mouth. You took the words right out of my mouth. That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. I see exactly where you're coming from. I see exactly where you're coming from. Sophisticated opinion chunks. If you ask me. If you ask me. The way I see it. The way I see it. As far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned. To my way of thinking. To my way of thinking. From my point of view. From my point of view. To be perfectly honest with you. To be perfectly honest with you. Fancy hesitation and thinking chunks. Now that you mention it. Now that you mention it. Come to think of it. Come to think of it. Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. How should I put this? How should I put this? If memory serves me correctly. If memory serves me correctly. Unless I'm very much mistaken. Unless I'm very much mistaken. Impressive transition chunks. Speaking of which. Speaking of which. That reminds me. That reminds me. While we're on the subject. While we're on the subject. On a completely different note. On a completely different note. Getting back to what you said earlier. Getting back to what you said earlier. Now that I think about it. Now that I think about it. Polite disagreement chunks. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. With all due respect. With all due respect. I take your point, but. I take your point, but. I see it somewhat differently. I see it somewhat differently. That's one way of looking at it. That's one way of looking at it. I'm not entirely convinced. I'm not entirely convinced. Sophisticated reaction chunks. You don't say. You don't say. I had no idea. I had no idea. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. How interesting. How interesting. That's quite remarkable. That's quite remarkable. I'm genuinely surprised. I'm genuinely surprised. Fancy emphasizing chunks. To tell you the truth. To tell you the truth. As a matter of fact. As a matter of fact. The thing is. The thing is. What really matters is. What really matters is. At the end of the day. At the end of the day. When all's said and done. When all's said and done. Impressive suggestion chunks. Have you considered? Have you considered? It might be worth. It might be worth. You might want to. You might want to. If I were in your shoes. If I were in your shoes. Why not give it a go? Why not give it a go? It wouldn't hurt to. It wouldn't hurt to. Sophisticated uncertainty chunks. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. That remains to be seen. That remains to be seen. Time will tell. Time will tell. Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. I couldn't say for certain. I couldn't say for certain. Fancy confirmation chunks. Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Most definitely. Most definitely. I couldn't be more certain. I couldn't be more certain. You can count on it. You can count on it. Rest assured. Rest assured. Impressive conversation management chunks. Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. If I understand you correctly. If I understand you correctly. To clarify what you're saying. To clarify what you're saying. Just to make sure I've got this right. Just to make sure I've got this right. Allow me to elaborate. Allow me to elaborate. Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. Sophisticated preference chunks. I'd rather. I'd rather. I'd be inclined to. I'd be inclined to. Given the choice. Given the choice. If it's all the same to you. If it's all the same to you. I have a slight preference for. I have a slight preference for. I'm particularly keen on. I'm particularly keen on. Fancy closing and summarizing chunks. To cut a long story short. To cut a long story short. In a nutshell. In a nutshell. To sum it all up. To sum it all up. The bottom line is. The bottom line is. What it boils down to is. What it boils down to is. All things considered. All things considered. Impressive evaluating chunks. It's worth noting that. It's worth noting that. One thing to bear in mind is. One thing to bear in mind is. It's worth pointing out that. It's worth pointing out that. What strikes me as interesting is. What strikes me as interesting is. The key thing to remember is. The key thing to remember is. It goes without saying that. It goes without saying that. Sophisticated time reference chunks. As we speak. As we speak. At this very moment. At this very moment. For the time being. For the time being. In due course. In due course. Sooner or later. Sooner or later. In the long run. In the long run. Fancy probability chunks. In all likelihood. In all likelihood. The chances are that. The chances are that. It's highly unlikely that. It's highly unlikely that. There's every chance that. There's every chance that. Against all odds. Against all odds. It stands to reason that. It stands to reason that. Impressive understanding chunks. I see where you're going with this. I see where you're going with this. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I follow your line of thinking. I follow your line of thinking. I can see the logic in that. I can see the logic in that. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I hadn't thought of it that way. I hadn't thought of it that way. Sophisticated excuse and apology chunks. I'm terribly sorry about that. I'm terribly sorry about that. Please accept my apologies. Please accept my apologies. I do apologize for the inconvenience. I do apologize for the inconvenience. It completely slipped my mind. It completely slipped my mind. That was entirely my fault. That was entirely my fault. I take full responsibility. I take full responsibility. Fancy expressing difficulty chunks. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. That's quite a tall order. That's quite a tall order. I'm in two minds about this. I'm in two minds about this. I'm torn between the two. I'm torn between the two. It's no walk in the park. It's no walk in the park. That's a tough call. That's a tough call. Impressive encouragement chunks. You're on the right track. You're on the right track. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. You're making great progress. You're making great progress. You've got this. You've got this. Don't give up now. Don't give up now. Hang in there. Hang in there. Excellent work today. You've learned over 100 impressive chunks. These chunks make you sound sophisticated. Native speakers use these all the time. Start using 5 chunks this week. Practice them in real conversations. You'll sound much more natural. People will be impressed. Even as a beginner, you can sound advanced. These chunks are your secret tool. Keep practicing every day. Thank you for learning with me. See you next time. Goodbye.
Pronounce faster.